Welcome to TheFinanceStory.com, and I'm your host, Vishal Krishna. A lot of data while the industry grapples with physical legacy. Answering all those questions and impressing upon you is Ashish Khemka, who's the CFO of the Lagos Free Zone and is part of the Tolaram Group. He's a graduate of the University of Calcutta. He's a CA from the 2010 batch. He's worked in E&Y in the past, ICICI, and Hindustan National Glass. He has a brilliant resume. He's been in Nigeria for a better part of the decade. It's been 9 years there. How are you, Ashish? Thank you for being on The Finance Story.
Thanks, Vishal. It's my pleasure to be part of The Finance Story.
How was life when you were growing up? Were you a astute student, or were you somebody who enjoyed life and did a lot of extracurricular activities? And how did CA happen?
You would be surprised to hear, I was not a studious student, I would say. In fact, I hear my stories from my parents that while in my initial days of my school, I was not ready to go to school also. My dad used to bump me into the school bus, and ask the driver to just drive it away. It didn't matter whether I'm crying or not. And that's how my story started. In fact, I am a story of a well-believer, whereas, the failures are pillars of success. My study career, as my school career, started with a failure. Till class 10, I was a very, very basic average student, like just clearing it by anyhow my thing. But things took a radical change in my +2 examination, that is class 11 and 12. Suddenly there was a change in me, and I was among the top 5 performers of my school. In fact, my classmates, my teachers, all were surprised to see this drastic change in me. And post that, it's a history for me, I would say. I've always been performer after that. I topped my school in class 12. I have been a ranker all through my CAs. And here as I stand after almost 14 years being the CFO of Lagos Free Zone.
How did that, what motivated you in the 12th standard, right? Your parents? Was it personal experience? What happened?
I would say that the basic thing which changed was my mentor. I got a very good mentor in class 11. And very sad to say that I lost him during the COVID time at a very early age of 44. But he was a game changer for me. The way he showed me the life, the way he taught me few of the basic things, what made my look towards the education completely, and an aspiration. And the second aspiration was my sister. When I was in class 12, she got cleared her chartered accountancy. She is also a CA. And the kind of reception she got in my family inspired me that I could also do something. And that's when I decided to do a CA.
Did you ever plan that, when you did your CA, that you'd land up in Nigeria at that point of time? You also worked in E&Y, you worked in ICICI. But for a boy from Calcutta how did life change for you, saying that, okay, suddenly this opportunity to work in a global organization? How did that happen?
Yeah, I would say that I was destined to work in Nigeria. My family has connection to the Nigeria, even before I was born. So my dad used to work in Nigeria in 1983-84, which were also called as the golden years of Nigeria. And I got born in 86, obviously, and 84, 85. When my dad was here, it was a plan that my family would shift in here with my dad working. But there were certain dramatic political changes in the country which made my dad move back to the country.
So when you went back, was it a cultural change for you personally? Did your family have to fit in? What were some of the learnings that you had? Because you hadn't gone back, I suppose, when you came back to Calcutta, right? How did you manage the cultural shift?
I was never brought into Nigeria. Only when in 2013 when I came to Nigeria, my dad was here. Okay. So in 2013, just to give you a sense, when we talked about a finance guy moving to Bombay, my ICICI stint was in Mumbai itself. So 15 months I was with ICICI working in their corporate office in BKC. So that was in a Mumbai sprint. But when I got this opportunity to work for a recommended name or conglomerate like Tolaram, which is a very old name now and is the biggest player, I would say, in Nigeria nowadays. When I said my dad that I'm getting this opportunity, he said that don't worry, just go ahead. Because you will understand when India, still when you hear about Africa, there is a kind of a mindset that it's not safe, you may have get into a trouble and other stuff. For me, that was not an issue because my family had stayed it here. They know what is on reality on the ground. So it was an easy cakewalk for me, and I got full backing from my family. Just go ahead and not just, but you are going ahead, but just follow few of the steps. Like there are certain do's and do nots. Follow that rules and regulations, and you would be pretty much safe to do it. Coming into the country, I came with an aspiration of 2 years that I would work for 2 years and stay. But I would say this country is such that once you are here, it's hard for you to move back.
Oh, how did you manage? When you took those interviews all those years ago, was it difficult? What is the process like? How did you qualify? Was there an agent interviewing you? Did the company board come and interview you later on? How did that happen?
So for me, I knew somebody here. So it was kind of passing the CV through him to the relevant person here. And luckily, the CFO of Tolaram Group at that time, Mr. Dinesh Rathi, who is now my mentor in Tolaram, I would say, was in town in Calcutta during, it was a time at December. It's a holiday time here. So he was during his holiday. He got my CVs. He gave me a call that received your CV. Will it be good that you come for a talk? And I remember it was not a formal interview kind of a talk. I was formally dressed. He was in a jeans and a t-shirt taking my interview in a hotel lobby. And I dressed up like a suit, complete going for an interview. So he said that why have you come like that? I said, it's an interview. I came like well prepared. So he started off, it lasted for 2 hours, I would say, a one-on-one round. And believe me or not, he acknowledged that, when he saw my CV, he thought that he will not take me up because of, after 3.5 years of my post clearance of CA, I have already changed 3 jobs. And with the kind of achievement accords which I had on my CV, he was skeptical that whether I would stay back or not. But during that 2 hours of our conversation on a hotel lobby sitting itself, he changed his mind and he offered me the job during that itself. And rest is a history. I just confirmed it, and within 40 days, I was in the country of Nigeria.
How was your career growth? 9 years, like you said, you had a mentor already. And how did you grow in leaps and bounds? What were some of the learnings in terms of finance that you had? The reason I ask this is, should all finance professionals also look at Africa as a market to come and work from India or across the world? What are your thought process?
So for thought process, it said that, I would say that I got the opportunity to work with the cream of the cream people in the company also. Initially, I started off like a person responsible to converging, because 2013 was the year when the financials and the accounting for Nigeria was converged to IFRS. So I was specifically hired for converging the books of accounts from NGAP, that is Nigerian GAP's accounting, to IFRS, so which I successfully did in 2013 for the group. 2014 were more for my internal audit aspect, where I moved into internal audit aspect of the group, doing internal audits for various group companies. 2015, again, I would say was a leap year for me in my performance and my career, wherein I got the opportunity to work on the sell side of one of the biggest mergers, the acquisition deal of that time in the consumer sector in Africa, wherein Kellogg's, the Kellogg's, that the US company, acquired a stake in Tolaram's distribution arm. And I was actively involved into that mergers and acquisitions part, which enhanced my knowledge drastically, I would say, opened me with an CXO level kind of conversations and exposure, which after the successful implementation and completion of the stuff allowed me to my next step of the career, was wherein I was moved into a different arm of the group itself, which is the infrastructure arm, wherein is my current position, where it started with just a finance related role to moving to a CFO as well as an operational role.
So what would you suggest? What industries should finance professionals look at if they apply in a country like Nigeria? Some thoughts there. What verticals are doing well? Should they apply? Are there accounting jobs?
So, Nigeria is one of the seventh biggest, or I would say the seventh biggest populous country in the world. The population currently stands at 200 million people, and is expected that in the next 30 years, it would be the third most populous country in the world. And the mean age of the country is 18, which gives that, the consumer sector, like the consumer side, because of the pull, I would say that the demand pull, which will be coming because of the growing population and other stuff. So the consumer sector would be the right sector for anybody to get into it. And the potential is huge on that front. And the second is the infrastructure front, because the country lacks a lot of infrastructure. So we expect that if you need to cater to the required population and to maintain and sustain the growth which is there, you need to invest in infrastructure. So these are the two sectors which will portray and will grow over the years. And anybody looking for a job and all should target these two sectors.
There is this hypothesis that today the CFOs are on a rise. All the CEOs are listening to them because they are able to take data and present it as a business insight. And CEOs value that. Unlike in the old days where the CFO would say, okay, we are compliant, we are audited, we are regulated, we are following all regulations. But today the CFO is taking data to the CEO. Is that true? And would you agree with that? And if so, are you playing that role as well?
I would say completely true. It doesn't make much sense to do a de facto or a post facto audit. It's about future looking, because of the current world, it's changing almost every day. And data is one of the things which plays most important role of it. So if you helps in taking the strategic future decision, that's what the future will decide to. So that's what one should look into it. And the finance role is evaluating and evolving over towards that.
Do the technology guys report to you today? Because mostly technology guys have a futuristic approach to gauge the future, to work on the future, and yet say that, look, this is not for today, but for a few years down the line. How do you take those bets?
I would say that it depends upon the business to business. That is how important the technology plays role of it. Like if look our company itself, which is kind of a developing an industrial zone, a smart industrial zone. So when you develop a smart industrial zone, technology plays a very important role in the strategic future development. So to a certain extent, for that smart development and other spurt, the IT person or the CTO, that the Chief Technology Officer, reports directly to the CEO. But for developing the systems, the processes, and checks and balances, and see what the finance related IT is related, it comes to the CFO related. So it's kind of a domain specific, and also the role that particular IT would play in the future of the organization.
Okay, brilliant. My last question, last question is two-part. Advice to younger finance professionals today, what should they look at? And finally, salary expectations in Africa with the CA qualifications. What is a realistic thing that finance professionals should look at when they're moving countries?
Again, I would say that first part, when you say for a message for a youth and a new aspirant, I would say that at the start of your career, you should not look at the money and the privilege coming in. You should look at the quality of the work you are getting in. What you are getting, what is the role and responsibility you are getting into it. Once you stick to it, you perform well, the other benefits would keep on coming in. So even if at the start you get a lesser pay with better opportunity, you should grab that. Because once you perform, the organization understands the value of you, and they will benefit you and they will compensate you correctly. So that's what our message would be for the youth and the new aspirant. And for a salary expectation, working in Africa, there are different models depending in Africa. For a range, I would say for a new aspirant, it should be in the range of $2,000 to $2,500 per month, kind of a range for a net saving one. rest take care of your housing, your transport, your travel, your visas, and other stuffs would kind of taken care by the company.
No, lovely. I mean, this has been such a, invigorating chat for me simply because I got to learn about a new market. But we should see you and host you soon in India or Dubai sometime where Chantel is. Thank you so much for being on the Finance Story. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Ashish Khemka of the Tolaram Group and now at the Lagos Free Zone, of course. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Vishal. It was nice connecting.